Unexpected bomba interview of Thiago Motta on Corriere della Sera. Look, I was absolutely not planning to record 2 videos today. I was waiting patiently for the press conference of Igor Tudor because tomorrow we play. And I'm obsessed about that, about the words of Igor Tudor before Roma Juve. But that's suddenly, and that's what I told you, unexpected, huge interview of Thiago Motta that spoke on Corriere della Sera. A big one. Look, I will not do the usual work in going towards all the paragraphs, translating them, because otherwise we will be here for 30, 40 minutes without giving my opinion. I really want to share my opinion also because I know it's Saturday. You have better things to do, going with the family, enjoying the beautiful weather, depending where you're living, of course. So that's not what I will do, but I will go towards the hot things. If there is one thing, one phrase that I really want to translate and to read like it has been written is the first one, where he says, difficile fare un'analisi, essendo così vicini a quello che è successo. Difficult to do an analysis, being that close to what happened, of course, referring to him being sacked. And I believe it was the best way to open the interview and probably should have been stopped there immediately. Stop. Because that's the moment where he's the most lucid. It's difficult to do an analysis. According to me, what is really wrong with that interview, that for us, Tifosi, it's fantastic, It's gossip. We have so many questions. And honestly, the journalists did an amazing work in asking a lot of questions. Also harsh questions, where Thiago Motta, credit for him, he answered all of them. A lot of questions that we want being answered as Tifosi, but I believe it's way too soon. First of all, I don't remember any coach of Juve, I don't know about the other teams, that after being sacked 2 weeks later, they're already speaking, they are putting a 2 pages, 3 pages interview. I don't remember that because they are still under contract. Don't forget about that. That's maybe a detail, but it's an important one. Super important when we will analyze it. Look, too soon. Not enough time to digest, to accept, to reflect on it, to understand, to really understand what is the problem. Because probably he's asking still today, what happened? Why did we fail? And if you are not able to really be totally transparent, honest with your questions, then it's difficult to answer them. And you will see the answer of Mattia Perin, that is the first one to answer to that interview indirectly with a post on Instagram, tells a lot. Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Thank you for being here. If you didn't yet, please put a maximum of like. Don't forget to subscribe also today, guys. Maximum of like. Take a coffee, 2 coffee, have lunch, enjoy, but sit because it's an important one. Look, he says, and I really believe in him. I'm extremely disappointed. I'm sad in this moment because the things didn't go as we wanted, as we wished, as we planned, especially Coppa Italia, especially Champions League, Coppa Italia, that we really wanted to win. But I don't agree, he says, when I hear speaking about failure. Our work has been interrupted when we were at only 1 point from the 4th spot, which at the beginning of the season was our main objective. Look, here we stop. We stop immediately in telling that we will never know if Thiago Motta would have reached Champions League continuing on the bench of Juve or not. We will never know. We can say yes, we can say no. Some people will believe in him, some people will not believe in him. On the other side, being out of Coppa Italia against the B team of Empoli, the way that we went out in Champions League, the way that we did the last 2 games where there were no signs of reaction, losing that 4th spot that we had so much difficulty to reach. Well, if you're saying it's not a failure, it's tough. It's tough. If you're telling me we are in line with the main objective, it's tough. And here I also blame the club that probably at a certain moment, after some difficult transitional year, probably should put aside what is the main objective of Juventus in telling it like that, 4th spot. Because if that's what you say, then of course, if you are at -1 with 9 games to be played back then, now 8, you're still in line with what is your main objective of the season. But was it a failure? Yes, it was a failure for so many things. Look, he says, I believed that I could have continued with Juve because after the words of Cristiano Giuntoli after the game of Fiorentina, look, it gave a boost, gave a trust, and it gives you the intention to continue to do better, to go all in. So I was not expecting to be sacked. That's what he said. Then the club made their decision that it's a legit decision. They changed it. What would I change? He said. A lot, of course. A lot of things we did well, a lot of things we didn't do well, and probably I would change today. Then, also when we were doing well, things I would have changed them because I analyzed the bad things, but also the good things. And it's not because you are doing things well that you cannot do them better. Look, on that one, I agree with him. He's totally honest on that one. No problem with that. Of course, he speaks about the last 2 games where he says, they were wrong. They were really, really bad. And of course, I would change a lot. But I don't accept that we are speaking about my work. Because the work that we did, well, it was a big one. Where all the players, they didn't track back. They were working. They were doing. And that's where he starts speaking about not enough time to develop the project. Because when he accepted Juve, when he really was convinced about the project, it was a 3 years project, understanding and being aware that there was also a process of rejuvenation in totally changing the team that he accepted, that he embraced, and that he was convinced about. So being sacked here, it's something that he didn't digest because, of course, when you sign for a long-term project, which is 3 years, and you are sacked after 8-9 months, well, it changed the narrative. And that's where he says, I didn't receive enough time to develop the project. Too many injuries that changed a lot of rotation during the game because we had a lot of games, because when you are playing 2-3 games a season, a totally renewed and young team. And this is also why I was changing that captain band to everyone, because in the beginning I was looking for who is it, who needs to be, because at Juve, in a big club like Juve, being a captain is not a joke. So you really need to find the right one. He says Bremer could have been that one because Bremer, super important on the field, off the field, in the locker room, has that aura, that maturity, that presence. Then at the end, it became Locatelli that is the captain until today. He spoke about being aligned with the summer mercato choices. Entry. He speaks about entry to reinforce the team. He speaks about the fact that we can criticize his field choices because that's his work, that's the coach, that's what he's paid also to do, and that's what you can criticize. But what he doesn't accept is that we are questioning his people management and the relationship, because all the relationship stories are fake. He's speaking about the fact that mi vergogno di averti scelto, the words of Giuntoli, I'm ashamed to have chosen you. That discussion never existed. He spoke about that Kenan Yildiz, you are not Messi, never existed. So he says that's what hurts the most. A lot of fake stories, something that I cannot accept, the lack of empathy. I am someone that is totally direct, that is open, that prefers to speak face to face. Am I someone that is harsh sometimes? Yes, I am. But I'm someone that is totally honest, and the players never let me down. They were always backing me. Also in the Empoli game, where I was extremely harsh in the locker room and in press conference post game, they never let me down. They were always backing me up. They always worked a lot. So no, I don't believe in these stories. The things that you are writing, if you are writing them, you are liars. So he's actually speaking to the media, I think, because when he's speaking about Giuntoli, he's always saying that he has a great relationship with him, always open discussions, that they always chose the Mercato strategies together. Of course, not that he chose them, because he was absolutely not taking care about the value of the player, but he was thinking about, okay, who can enter to replace some players. By the way, he said probably one regret that I have is Hans Nicolussi, that is a fantastic player, that is a player with a lot of qualities. I don't regret Fagioli going out, that in the beginning was even performing well, but then entered in that loop where he was not performing anymore, and also not about Moise Kean. So his regret is Hans Nicolussi, that, again, I tell you, and I've always told you here on the channel, fantastic player with qualities that needed trust. Look at the final that he played against Atalanta. So that's his regret, but he's speaking about the mercato choices. So he's not speaking about Giuntoli that was wrong with him or that was putting all these fake words, but maybe the journalist. And I told him and I warned him, Thiago, in press conference when things were going well, you started to speak with a bit of arrogance, with sometimes lack of respect to journalists, and sometimes they need also to be answered back really harsh. But sometimes, and especially in that moment, it was absolutely not needed because you start a relationship. And if you fail, well, these stories will come. We anticipated. It's a problem. I think it's a pity that Thiago Motta was not able to anticipate what we fans were able to anticipate. He says that a club like Juve, you must win, especially if you are in a cycle, after a huge big cycle of victories and after a few years where you are not able to win them. But I didn't feel betrayed by the team. What about the formations? Yes, we change a lot because of every game, every 3-4 days, so we were obliged to change. One thing that he said that is really nice is about the Tifos. He said, I really want to thank them because they always showed me love, and they criticized correctly when things were going bad. But they always showed that they were backing me up. I mean, especially in the beginning, they were there criticizing, but also always with a lot of love. I think that it's also partially true what he's saying about the respect that he received by a lot of Juventini when he arrived. Also, when things were not going that well, when the first doubters were coming, well, there was still a lot of respect towards him. And I think that, except if you put a bit of social media aside, some supporters, well, they say, look, it's because of Thiago Motta. It's a bad choice, Thiago Motta. But we're still convinced that he can do a great career. Look, beautiful words. He could have gone against what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But what I'm trying to say, he could have gone with, I didn't appreciate the insults in front of the hotel. Well, this is something that he didn't even mention. So credits to him for that one. Yildiz, I already told you about that Messi story that is not correct. Then he spoke really well about Yildiz being a player that when he didn't play, it was to actually gain a bit of form. Sometimes he didn't deserve to play, but he spoke about the huge potential of the player, especially the maturity that he has, the will of working. So beautiful there, beautiful words for Yildiz, beautiful words for Danilo that said when he played, he always was our captain, a great relationship with Danilo. Then, of course, we know as well that the club had that plan of changing, transition, rejuvenating the team. So he's also partially blaming here, if you read between the line, a bit the club in saying, look, I had a great relationship with Danilo. It's the club that wanted me to push him out. With Bremer, well, he says injury of Bremer was important, super important. It's a pity. Then Cabal was injured. He speaks about Cope managers that, according to him, what really makes that Cope is not performing at the moment is that pressure of 60 million euro target, that he was a AAA objective, the most expensive player, and that he went into that loop of I need to perform, I need to have that pressure, I'm obliged to. Look, what I want to say about that is, Cope, you knew it before coming. 60 million euro is not even the 100 million euro that we paid for Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not the 90 million that we paid for Higuain. These guys, they were obliged to perform. I don't believe that one of us were giving the same importance to Koopmeiners than to Higuain that arrived at Juve, a Cristiano Ronaldo that came to Juve. So it's a way of dealing with that pressure. Hopefully he's right. Hopefully he says that from the moment that it will be a normal situation, that pressure will be gone, he will start to perform. I hope so, because he is a talented player, but I don't know. Then he spoke about the fact that nobody wrote some messages on Instagram to say goodbye to him. Well, there he said, look, social media today, what is not said look like it's the truth, which is not always right. That has always been a battle from me when I was defending Juve, to not always speak about on social media about, the condolences, etc., etc. He says, I received a lot in private messages, which I value the most. Then, about him having a really difficult character, difficult personality. He said, no, absolutely not. I am an honest person. We already spoke about it. Speaking about Dusan Vlahovic, that when he was not playing, of course, he didn't like it, but he always respected. And then he continues speaking about, let me check, Douglas Luiz, that is a player with a lot of potential, Savona, that deserves to play, Bangula, that is actually a beautiful evidence that when a player wants, when a player has some qualities and he's supported and helped, well, he can deliver the most. That's actually in big the interview of Thiago Motta. Well, I need to add something super important. Look, In a lot of that interview, I see that he's blaming the last two games where we were really bad. He's sad about the fact that we were out in Champions League and Coppa Italia, but he's saying it's not a failure. And during that interview, he's telling a lot of times, a lot of injuries, Bremer injury, Cabal injury. He's speaking about rotations, he's speaking about renewed team, about so many things that are facts, honestly are facts. But it's difficult to accept for me when he promised, when things were really beautiful in the month of August, that these would not have been turned into alibis. That's what he said. These are the words of Thiago Motta. We know the calendar up front that we have a lot of games. We know that injuries are part of the games. We know that we have a limited deep team in terms of depth, and that's what I've chosen for, because I prefer to have 22 field players that are battling each other instead of having a 30-team players where you have a bit less players. I'm thinking about the Rugani. I'm thinking about these kind of players that would they have done well. Then the relationship about Danilo, Vlahovic, Koopman, etc. I don't know. What he's missing, according to me, is probably that he's giving his views, his opinions, but he's forgetting the perspective of someone else, of the other ones, how they were living it. If you're looking at the story on Instagram of Mattia Perin that is saying Faber est suae quisquie fortunea, which means ciascuno è artefice della propria storia, in English, every man is the artisan of his own future. Well, it says a lot. It says a lot because Mattia Perin read the article. Mattia Perin was in the team. I'm not saying that Mattia Perin is now the good boy, that he's totally right with his version, but you see that answer went immediately towards Thiago Motta. So Thiago Motta could be right, Perin could be right, both could be right, both could be wrong. That human relationships, you always have your own way of interpretation, and sometimes you forget how you're seen by others, because even if, according to Thiago, all went except of the injuries and these kind of small things, you need to pay attention that other people are maybe not feeling it like you. A Danilo that is leaving with that crazy, impossible project that I don't believe in. A Rabiot that I said 2 days ago that left Juve because he was not believing in the project. A Perin that in the beginning was there to support Motta and something happened. The smile of Kenan Yildiz that disappeared at a certain moment. Dusan Vlahovic that was on the bench looking everywhere but not into the game. Well, probably these players, they felt something else. And from the moment that I believe you lose the locker room, because this is the answer of Mattia Perin, well, it's extremely, extremely tough to continue. So is it a failure? Yes, it's a failure. It's a failure, and I think, and I will repeat, that interview is probably way too early. Way too early. Because he doesn't have that lucidity. I go back to what he said in the beginning. È difficile analizzare. It's difficult to analyze. Because we are that close to what just happened. Tudor, I hope he will do well. I don't know if he will do well. But if there is one thing that he understood, is that he cannot do it alone. I'm not saying now that Tudor is the Messias, that he will solve everything. But there are some rumors that at that restaurant he said, when he was speaking to the team, he said, look, I will try to make you perform the best. To give the best. That's what I'm giving to you. Please, support me, give me a hand to stay here and to build a future together. He understood immediately how important it was to be humble, to ask support, to involve everyone, to say, I'm a human person. I'm not someone that knows everything. I don't pretend to know everything and to be able to solve everything with a magic wand. I don't have it. I need your support. I will try my best to make you perform the best. And let's try to win all of them. This is also what he said. Let's try to win all of them. Please give me a hand of staying here. You are decisive in me staying here. Understanding the importance of the locker room. Ragazzi, that was it. Let me know what you think about that interview of Thiago Motta. If you really want to read point by point what he said, I send you back to JuventusNews24.com, so JuventusNews24.com, where everything is written. To ilbianconero.com from Romeo Agresti, ilbianconero.com, and then you go with Google Translate. It's the easiest way. If you didn't yet, please put a maximum of like. Don't forget to subscribe. Grazie, forza, Juve.